I am President Wen's assistant and husband. At the reception, to help my wife secure the project, I drank until I had a stomach hemorrhage and passed out. When I opened my eyes again, I fell off the hospital bed, the violent movement making my stomach hurt so much I dry heaved. My wife, who was supposed to be taking care of me, was sprawled out sleeping on my hospital bed. That's just how Ryu is, spoiled as always. I've endured her princess attitude for 10 years. I'm long used to these kinds of situations. Even though when Ryu has always been cruel to me, out of gratitude for her father's kindness, I'm willing to live a good life with her. I sighed, got up to tuck in the corners of her blanket, and casually took the phone she was still holding. But unexpectedly, I saw a message that popped up on the screen. CEO 1. The latest artificial womb research from America is still in the experimental stage, and we cannot guarantee how much harm it will cause to the paternal body. Are you sure you want to implant it in Secretary Qin? After all, Qin Sheng has been your husband for 10 years. This time you didn't get the dosage right, causing him to unnecessarily lose half of his stomach. Besides, I've already removed his vas deferens, so he can never have his own children in this lifetime. Do you really have the heart to completely ruin him, turning him into a neither male nor female monster? The person messaging was my attending physician, also my old classmate, Hisu. My stomach has been a chronic problem, and I need to visit Hisu from time to check it. Over the years, we haven't just been simply classmates and doctor-patient. We've been good brothers who could talk about anything. But seeing these words now, I felt dizzy. I swallowed the bloody foam rising in my throat, forcibly enduring the discomfort in my stomach, and used Wenryu's fingerprint to unlock the phone screen. With trembling hands, I opened their conversation and scrolled up bit by bit, forcing myself to read word by word. Aoyang has late-stage stomach cancer and doesn't have many days left. His last wish is to have a child that belongs to us. As the president of the Wen Corporation, I've already provided eggs for him. I cannot endure the pain of carrying a child for 10 months. I also won't allow any woman to have the slightest connection with Aoyang or with our child. But Qin Sheng can. Xing Cheng is my husband in name only, so he should make some contribution to my child. Besides, our Wen family has been providing him with a life of luxury for so many years. It's time to collect some interest. Director He, isn't your mentor researching a male pregnancy project in America? Implant an artificial uterus in Qin Sheng and have him give birth. This will be a child that belongs completely to me and Aoyang. Zhou Liang. With reddened eyes, I silently uttered this rather familiar name. It was that somewhat handsome male model who had my wife completely infatuated. The CEO of Wen Corporation had always been quite promiscuous. I knew this before agreeing to marry into her family. In all these years of marriage, the green hat on my head has never been removed. But I thought, no matter how much she liked them, it was just for fun. After all, I was the spouse who shared her honor and disgrace. Unexpectedly, when Ryu, who had repeatedly emphasized her child-free stance, was willing to undergo IVF for Zhou Liang. Years ago, my mother was terminally ill, and her long-time wish was to hold a grandchild soon. I told her countless times that we were expecting, but she wouldn't believe it, insisting on hearing it directly from Ryu. Left with no choice, I had to beg Temperature Jade to help me put on an act. She only needed to tell my mother that she was already pregnant to fulfill the elderly woman's dying wish. It was just a matter of saying one sentence, yet Temperature Jade refused to agree even as I knocked my head bloody outside the hospital room. She firmly declared herself a committed child-free person and claimed that falsely announcing a pregnancy would be like cursing herself with an early death. On her deathbed, my mother held on with her last breath, looking expectantly at Ryu standing in the doorway, only wanting to hear confirmation of her pregnancy from her own lips. But Ryu wouldn't even spare a nod. I could only watch helplessly as the light faded from my mother's already clouded eyes, until she reluctantly took her final breath, without ever closing them. The same Ryu who once refused to tell even a white lie is now willing to retrieve eggs for IVF treatment for Zhou Liang. Turns out being child-free was just her excuse. She simply didn't want to help me. I always thought that Ryu was just spoiled, naturally heartless. I never expected she had already offered her passionate love with both hands to a male model who'd been touched by thousands and played with by countless. Over these years, even though she never respected me, I still gave her the best I could. After all, she is my wife, and this is my responsibility as a man. I managed the company for her, negotiated projects for her, and took care of everything big and small for her. In return, she became increasingly promiscuous outside. Pitifully, I believed her then, believed that she truly wanted to be child-free. To reassure her, I agreed to get sterilized under her half-coaxing, half-forcing. And the hospital director whom I considered a brother conspired with her, deceiving me that it could be reversed in the future, when in fact they completely removed my vas deferens. Now, she wants to give Zhou Liang a child, but doesn't want to bear the necessary pain of nurturing life. So she turned her attention to me, a man. My heart aches intensely. I've done so Uke for her, even if it couldn't warm her stone-cold heart. At least she should have felt some reluctance. Married for 10 years, I didn't even ask for her fidelity, yet I never imagined she would poison me so viciously. I gritted my teeth and endured the churning pain in my stomach, using my last bit of strength to take pictures of all the evidence on Wenryu's phone. Wenryu, there's no way you'll get to be a mother without suffering. Finally, I couldn't hold on any longer and crashed into the bedside table. Before losing consciousness, I heard Wenryu's panicked voice above me. Doctor, where's the doctor? My husband has fainted. Someone come quickly. CEO Wen, are you really sure? Hisu hesitated repeatedly and asked. This project hasn't been tested on humans yet. We can't guarantee what might happen. Losing the child would be the least of our concerns, but the side effects on Qingqing's body would be irreversible, and he might even lose his life because of it. Wenryu made the final decision. Don't worry, go ahead with the experiment. I won't hold you responsible. The Wen family has raised him for so many years, it's time for him to repay the favor. But remember, no matter what the cost, you must save my child. I wanted to struggle, but I couldn't even open my eyes. My limbs couldn't move, like a slab of pork with a price tag at the market. I could only feel Dr. Hisu's rubber gloves measuring my abdomen inch by inch. My heart grew colder with each moment. To please her young lover, Wenryu was willing to transform me into a monster. Once the surgery was complete, I would become an aberration, forced to live like a sewer rat, surviving under society's contempt, never to see the light of day. She didn't care at all how I would cope after this decision, or even whether I lived or died. In her eyes, my body's only purpose was to nurture the fruit of their love. All right, I understand now. The equipment will arrive in 3 days, and we'll schedule the surgery immediately after. Hisu's footsteps grew distant as he pushed the surgical cart away. The surroundings weren't quiet for even a moment before a strange male voice, speaking with an affected tone, broke the silence. Sister Yu, are you sure City Brother's body will be okay? It's all because of my weak constitution and cancer. Otherwise, I would definitely carry our child myself. It's just having a child. How fragile can a grown man be? The bed sank down slightly, and Wenryu's voice echoed in my ear. But Alyong, you've hurt yourself, haven't you? I'll make sure to help you recover properly later. I'm fine, cough cough cough. I just need a few days of rest. Zhou Yang also climbed onto the bed, heavily pressing on my hand where the 4 was inserted. Sister, save your best hospital room for Brother Chung. He just had half his stomach removed, and the nurse said he needs good rest. Wenryu said coldly, he's just being dramatic. It's only half a stomach. Who is he trying to impress looking so miserable? You're in the late stages of stomach cancer. Who knows how much suffering you've endured all these years? The two of them eagerly began their passionate encounter on my hospital bed, several times precisely kicking my stomach. But more painful than my stomach was my heart. Sister, you've been so good to me. I was too afraid to undergo treatment alone. So all these years you've been drugging Brother Chung, making him experience the pain of stomach disease along with me. Don't worry. After the baby is born, I'll have the other half of his stomach removed as well. Temperature Ryu panted softly, speaking intermittently. How could I bear to let you suffer from stomach cancer alone? As the hospital bed shook, my heart sank to the bottom. I had always thought my stomach problems came from frequent business meetings and drinking too much at dinner tables. It turns out from the very beginning it was all Temperature Ryu's scheme. All these years she had been sucking the marrow from my bones, while I foolishly and willingly took drinks for her. She utilized my brains and methods to achieve her goals and expand the company. Then, through harming my body, she showed devotion to her lover. What a perfect way to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. My fingertips trembled uncontrollably. It was my trust in and indulgence of her that gave her the opportunity to hurt me. But when I'm further along in my pregnancy, it won't be possible to hide it anymore. If Brother Ching finds out I'm pregnant later, will he be angry? He is my husband. He didn't even help with the conception. Being able to carry our child is a blessing to him. Wenryu let out a comfortable long sigh, saying mockingly, just an incubator, not even qualified to have a say in whether you want to or not. Being forced to hear the entire intimate scene made me feel worse than if I had eaten dirt. Perhaps it was too shocking, but I was completely awakened. The bedsheets were covered in spots. The air still lingered with chaotic scents. All of this seemed to mock me. Mocking me that my years of emotional investment had been wasted. My heart no longer felt sharp pain, only endless desolation. In the following days, I don't know if Hisu had done something, but although I was conscious, my limbs were completely powerless. Every day, when Ryu performed a show of marital bliss at my bedside. Ching-chung, your stomach is severely injured this time. You need surgery tomorrow. Don't worry, I've already arranged everything. It will all get better. There was even a trace of concern in her eyes. If I hadn't already known the truth, I might have been deceived by her again. I stared at her intently. Ryu, will I really get better? When Ryu avoided my gaze somewhat guiltily, gripping my hand tightly. You will get better. The company's project is still waiting for you to complete it. I smiled weakly, no longer arguing, while my hand secretly caressed that martyr's medal under the blanket. After when Ryu left, I received a message from Father One. Xiao Cheng, I heard your stomach illness has flared up again. Is it because of Ryu again? I've told you not to spoil her. I'm already on the flight back to China. Take good care of yourself. I'll come see you as soon as I land. I took a deep breath. Over these years, Father One has treated me like his own son, making Ryu quite jealous. If it wasn't to repay the kindness of being raised for 10 years, I wouldn't have voluntarily proposed to marry into his family as his only daughter's husband. After marrying into the family, I devoted myself wholeheartedly to the company and to Wen Ryu for 10 years, and can honestly say I have no regrets. Yet this is how I end up. It's time to bring this to an end. Just after replying to the message, the hospital room door was pushed open forcefully. Zhou Liang, abandoning his weakness from the previous 2 days, stood towering by the bedside. Qin Qingcheng. So what if your President Wen's husband in name? President Wen's heart and body both belong to me. You're nothing but her tool to control the company. With just a small trick, I was able to make you lose half your stomach and your vast deference. Tell me, what should I make you lose next? With a smug expression, he deliberately showed off the limited edition luxury watch on his wrist, trying to find satisfaction in my reaction to his victory. Seeing my indifferent face, Zhou Liang, as if triggered by something, rushed forward and grabbed my collar, saying viciously, I hate that indifferent look on your face the most. You're not as young as me, not as good-looking as me, not as smooth-talking as me, and even your bedroom skills are inferior to mine. But how could Miss Yu refuse to divorce you for such a boring man? If not for Father Wen's disapproval, Wen Ryu would probably have wanted to get rid of me long ago. How could she possibly be reluctant to divorce me? I pulled my lips into a bitter smile. You're overthinking it. We'll be divorced soon. Zhou Liang glanced at his watch, suddenly withdrew his hand, and even deliberately straightened out the wrinkles he had made in my collar. It doesn't matter. Miss Yu has already promised me that when you're on maternity leave, the position of executive assistant will be mine. He leaned close to my ear and said in a low voice, You'll soon have nothing left and completely lose any standing to compete with me. Before I could react, Zhou Liang grabbed my hand and pushed himself, falling to the ground. The next second, when Ryu's angry roar came from the doorway. Qin Qingqing, what are you doing? 1. Ryu rushed forward to help Zhou Liang up. Then without a word, she turned and slapped me across the face. Zhou Liang has late-stage stomach cancer. He endured the pain to come see you, and not only are you ungrateful, but you even hurt him. How can there be a man as vicious as you? Zhou Liang leaned on Wen Ryu and said weakly, I just wanted to ask Brother Cheng for advice on how to manage the company. He thought I was trying to take his position. It's not Brother Cheng's fault. Cough, cough, cough. I'm sure Brother Cheng hasn't been resting well lately, which is why he acted so impulsively. Wen Ryu looked at Zhou Liang with eyes full of sympathy, but when she turned to me, her gaze transformed completely into disgust. During these days when you were hiding out in the hospital taking it easy, if it weren't for Zhou Liang coming to help me, the company would have been in complete chaos by now. What right do you have to be jealous of him? I opened my mouth, but before I could speak, Zhou Liang cut in. Sister Yu, don't be angry. Brother Cheng is after all your husband in name. Unlike me. Cough, cough, cough. Who can only accompany Sister Yu for a short time left. It's a pity that I won't live to see our child's birth. By then, Brother Cheng will be the father of the child. I only ask that Sister Yu never forgets me. As Zhou Liang spoke, his eyes reddened, coughing while quietly sobbing. When Ryu's heart was overflowing with sympathy for him, she clenched her fists, her eyes showing complex, indiscernible emotions. Impossible. Our child will have only you as the father. I will make Qing Cheng completely become a woman. I widened my eyes, anxiously and fearfully grabbing Wen Ryu's hand, pleading desperately. Qing Cheng, this is for your own good. Only by completely transitioning can you avoid becoming a neither male nor female monster. You'll peacefully carry the pregnancy then, and the Wen family will protect you forever. She brushed aside my hand that had no strength left, instructing Hisu to push me into the operating room, leaving me struggling on the hospital bed. The green light of the operating room stayed on for 5 hours. After settling Zhou Liang, when Ryu waited alone outside for a long time, her heart fluctuating with indescribable feelings. Finally, Hisu emerged, his surgical gown stained red with blood, his voice trembling as he said, Ms. Wan, the surgery failed with severe bleeding. Qingqing did not survive resuscitation. When Ryu held my death certificate, her mind completely blank. Zhou Liang had come looking for her many times these past few days, but she didn't want to see him, as if she had instantly become a walking corpse. She couldn't understand why, when she was the one who personally ordered the experimental artificial womb surgery for me. She was the one who instructed the hospital to prioritize the baby over my life. But why after my death did her heart suddenly feel so empty, as if she had completely lost something important? It must be because the surgery failed, and she lost her and Zhou Yang's child. Yes, that must be it. The reason for her distress was because the child was lost, absolutely not because of me, a bland and boring man. How could I compare to Zhou Yang's youth and good looks? Zhou Yang has six-pack abs, is sweet-talking with good intuition, and knows many techniques in bed. Thinking about this, when Ruyu forced herself to seek out Zhou Yang again. But when Zhou Yang took her hand, what flashed through when Ruyu's mind was the image of me begging her in the operating room. Those hands had once resolutely helped her clear all company obstacles, supporting her, allowing her to establish her position in the one group as quickly as possible. But that day, under Dr. He's drugs, they became so soft and powerless that she easily shook them off with just a light flick. When Ruyu's suspicious gaze finally fell on Zhou Yang beside her, who was trying hard to please her, Zhou Yang thought when Ryu had become interested in him, and quickly grabbed her hand, guiding it toward his well-defined chest muscles. I've been spending every day at the gym lately, just to make Big Sister happy. The hospital director injected muscle relaxants into Qingsheng for 3 whole days to prevent him from escaping. Ruyuan narrowed her eyes and said coldly, "He couldn't even get out of bed. How could he have pushed you? Sister, you has forgotten. I have late-stage stomach cancer. My body is very weak." Zhou Yang's voice became increasingly uncertain as he spoke. Since when can someone with late-stage stomach cancer spend every day at the gym? Ruyuan looked up and down at this body that she once couldn't bear to let go of, which had completely matched her aesthetic tastes. Suddenly, she felt somewhat nauseated. My death had a greater impact on Ruyuan than Zhou Yang had anticipated. He was too hasty and revealed his true intentions. Ruyuan had been blinded, but she wasn't truly foolish. Now she finally came to her senses. She quickly discovered that Zhou Yang had been arranged by second uncle to manipulate her in the struggle for family inheritance. Yet she had hurt her true husband for such a self-serving scoundrel. After knowing the truth, when Ryu spent several days in despair. But the company's operations wait for no one, and executives flocked to her villa door, waiting for her final decision. CEO 1. Secretary Qin was truly prophetic. Our competitors have indeed relented. What should we do now? CEO 1. Secretary Qin said this contract needed your review before he was hospitalized. CEO 1. These are the projects that Secretary Qin was following up on previously. Who should I report to now? CEO 1. I had been dead for only 5 days, and the company was already in complete disarray, with matters big and small piling up like mountains. But when Ruyu's title as CEO was just that, a title. She had been an absentee boss for many years, only concerned with enjoying herself outside while I was the actual decision-maker at the one group. The battlefield of business was more terrifying than she had imagined. In just half a month, the company's stock fell by 20%. Without my involvement, her second uncle quickly infiltrated the company from within, and when Ryu was left with very little power in her hands. Finally, under the aggressive pressure from the board of directors, when Ryu couldn't hold on any longer, and tears that were delayed for half a month came pouring out, she remembered all the good things about me. I always quietly cleaned up the messes she made, and with me as her backing, no one in the one group dared to say a word against her. Although she rarely ate a meal at home, every time she returned drunk, there was sobering soup I personally prepared waiting for her in the microwave. Yet such a man who wholeheartedly cared for her was killed by her own hands. When Ryu was filled with regret, drowning her sorrows in alcohol daily until her father couldn't bear to watch anymore and gave her 2 hard slaps. What's the use of regretting now? Xinsheng was such a good man. You couldn't find someone like him even with a lantern. Do you know that when he just graduated, the Wang family and the Yi family both extended olive branches to him, and even the renowned He family was willing to marry their only precious daughter to him. But that child was deeply committed and loyal. Considering the old friendship with our one family, he voluntarily proposed to marry into our family. Such an incredible opportunity, yet you didn't cherish it and instead fooled around outside. For 10 years, Qingqing managed the company diligently and intelligently, leading Wen Corporation to rank among the top 3 in the capital. Unexpectedly, in just half a month, you've ruined everything completely. Not only did you fail to learn properly from Qingqing, but you even absurdly planned to give him an artificial womb surgery for some male model. When Father Wen said this, he trembled with anger and nearly passed out. From today on, you are no longer the CEO of Wen Corporation. Get out and reflect on yourself properly. What you owe Qingqing, you can never repay in this lifetime. When Ryu deeply knew the consequences of being abandoned by her father, putting away all her pride and willfulness, she kowtowed bang bang, seeking a glimmer of hope for herself. I was wrong, Dad, please forgive me. I just made a mistake that all women would make. Ching loves me so much, he definitely won't blame me. Besides, our Wen family has adopted Ching for so many years. Before when Ryu could finish speaking, she as interrupted again by her father's slap. Adopted? General Qin sacrificed himself to save me back then. Taking care of his orphan is our Wen family's mission. Moreover, the Qin family's inheritance is enough for Qingcheng to squander for several lifetimes. The reason he came to the Wen family was out of respect for our father's friendship, willing to use General Qin's lingering influence to protect the Wen family. Otherwise, how do you think our Wen family managed to establish a foothold in this vast Beijing? It is our Wen family, it is you, who has let Qingcheng down. Father Wen couldn't help but shed tears, and when Ryu was completely stunned. These things her father had never told her. She had always thought I was a poor child without parents, adopted by her father because of my diligence and progress. She had always thought that marrying into the Wen family was my incredible luck, that I owed her, when Ryu. Therefore, for so many years, she had never shown me a pleasant face, taking my care for granted. Little did she know, I was actually the cornerstone of the Wen family. My tolerance towards her over these years was not out of gratitude or apology, but merely out of a husband's responsibility. And what had she done? Flaunting her affairs outside, altering my body to give birth to some stranger's bastard, and even attempting to completely strip away my dignity as a man. Only now did when Ryu realize what a good man she had missed. Her heart felt like it was being cut by knives, and she didn't even dare to imagine how much I must have hated her as I lay on the operating table. Qingcheng, I was wrong. She couldn't hold back anymore, slapping her own face violently, over and over, until her expensively maintained face swelled up like a pig's head. But even if she cried until her tears ran dry, I would never return. On the day the surgery was declared a failure, I left the Wen family for good. The hospital Wen Ryu chose was exactly the one under the Wen group. The moment I received word from Mr. Wen, I laid out all the evidence and facts. It's worth noting that the evidence in my possession was sufficient to send Wen Ryu to prison for the rest of her life. But considering Mr. Wen's meticulous care for me over the years, I was willing to do the Wen family one last favor. Uncle Wen, I'm deeply grateful that the Wen family took me in after my father's death. During these 10 years as a son-in-law, my contributions to the Wen family are evident to everyone. Now that Ryu has done this to me, I can temporarily refrain from pursuing legal action against her. I hope that, for my father's sake, Uncle Wen will help me leave completely. From now on, all debts and grievances between me and the Wen family are settled, with nothing owed to each other. That day in the operating room, the blood on Hisu's body was his own. Uncle Wen arrived in time with bodyguard RDS and beat him severely. He originally wanted to drag Wen Ryu over to Kowtow and apologize to me in person, but I stopped him. Dad, I know you've treated me like your own son all these years. Because of this, I've repeatedly tolerated Ryu, believing she would eventually return to our family. But this time, I'm truly exhausted. Please consider Qingcheng as already dead. This was the first and last time I called him Dad. The normally imposing head of the family was completely broken by this word Dad, collapsing to his knees before me. He pounded his fists on the hospital bed one after another, unable to hold back his sobbing. Child, the Wen family has failed you. With Uncle Wen's help, I successfully faked my death and escaped. I refused Uncle Wen's final pleas to stay and his goodwill offering of several $1,000,000. Carrying only the martyr's medal and bank card my father left me, I traveled south and eventually settled in Shanghai. The inheritance my father left me was enough for me to make a fresh start. This time, I would be managing a company that was completely my own. In the second year after my company went public, I saw a familiar face in Shanghai. Hinuanyuan. She was my junior from university, though we didn't interact much back then. It wasn't until graduation that I learned she was the sole heir to the He family, the most prominent family in Beijing. At the graduation party, she meticulously arranged an elaborate confession and, in front of everyone, revealed her feelings for me with a blushing face. But the Wen family had been good to me, and I had already tied my future to them, so I could only politely decline her. After that, I willingly devoted everything to the Wen family and never paid attention to Hinuanyuan again. I never expected to see her again in Shanghai after all these years. This charity gala had gathered almost all the prominent figures in Shanghai. As the only newly prominent business representative invited, I didn't know many people and felt somewhat awkward standing at the gala. She approached me, step by step through the crowd, holding a wine glass under the brilliant crystal chandeliers. Hinuanyuan had changed significantly, completely shedding her college innocence, now carrying the unique maturity gained from business battlefield experience, with grace and charm in her every move. But when she smiled, it was still as radiant as before. Senior Qin, long time no see. Though both were young ladies from prestigious families, Hinuanyuan was completely different from Wen Ryu. She didn't idle away her days relying on her family's foundation, but rather had developed her own business in Beijing. Now that her enterprise had grown increasingly substantial, she was looking to claim a share of the market in Shanghai. As fellow young entrepreneurs, we had countless topics in common and ended up talking through the entire night. In the days that followed in Shanghai, we shared resources and supported each other. By my 6th year in Shanghai, my company had distinctly become the industry leader. What's even more exciting is that Nguyen and he and I have finally gotten together and are about to get married. Business dealings are full of personal relationships. When the big shots in Shanghai circle looked down on me and even refused to meet me, it was Nguyen and he who accompanied me on countless trips and was even willing to put the He family's reputation on the line as guarantee. Later I learned that Nguyen didn't believe I had died just like that and spared no effort searching everywhere for news of me. After learning I was in Shanghai, she abandoned the business she had built up in Beijing for many years and came to find me without hesitation. Over these years, I've been deeply moved by Nguyen's meticulous care and unconditional trust. Nguyen wanted to get married 2 years ago, but I vowed to give her a better life. Now, I finally have the ability to stand shoulder to shoulder with the He family. Nguyen loves extremely romantic Western-style weddings, so I reserved an entire estate and personally attended to every detail on the lawn. The wedding planning company was recommended by a friend, and they were efficient and reliable. Hey, you newcomer, don't dawdle. Bring those white roses over here. Under the wedding planner's urging, a dark-skinned, somewhat frail-looking woman walked up to me. The moment she clearly saw me, the flower pot in her hands fell to the ground with a clang, followed immediately by a loud exclamation. Ching-chung, is that really you, Ching-chung? Before I could react, this woman wearing faded jeans grabbed hold of my leg. She wailed without regard for her appearance, refusing to let go. Ching-chung, it's me, Ryu. I was wrong, please forgive me. Running into Ryu again was actually within my expectations. Although the wedding venue was set in Shanghai, with the He family's prestige, many dignitaries from Beijing still came to attend. Nguyen is considerate and thoughtful. She didn't mind my previous grudges with the Wen family and also sent them invitations. I just didn't expect that when we met again, Ryu would not be attending as a guest, but as an employee of the wedding planning company. The person in charge immediately came forward to pull her away, hurriedly bowing to me in apology. I'm sorry, really sorry, boss. She's a newly hired temporary worker who doesn't know the rules. I'll dismiss her right away. Then he called for help, and people came to drag Ryu away, one on each side. Ryu struggled desperately, slumping her entire body to the ground, refusing to leave. Ching-chung, I'm sorry. It was all my fault for being blinded by that little slut, Zhou Liang, before. For the sake of our 10 years of marriage, please. I beg you to come back. The people around were shocked by her words, unsure whether they should continue dragging her away. Looking down at her coldly, I spoke with indifference. Ryu, were we really husband and wife for 10 years, or were you just my assistant? I think you know better than I do. That's right, my marrying into their family was only something the Wen family had unilaterally announced to the outside world. Ryu looked down on me. She threatened to kill herself, refusing to have a wedding, and never got a marriage certificate. She wouldn't even give me a proper title, demanding that everyone in the company only call me Secretary Ching. At that time, I was solely focused on repaying kindness, only wanting to help the Wen family go further and didn't care about these formalities. Therefore, Father Wen didn't force her either. For these 10 years, she never gave me the respect a spouse deserves. My existence in the company was nothing but a joke. My legal relationship with Ryu and the Wen family was nothing more than a labor contract, no matter how you look at it. Just such a fragile contract trapped me for a full 10 years, and even nearly cost me my life. Ah-Chin, are you alright? Having received the news, Nguyen came running from a distance and shielded me behind her. Back then, Ah-Chin rejected all prestigious families for your sake, yet you betrayed him and even harmed his body. You never respected him, so how dare you ask for his forgiveness? Looking at Nguyen's angry profile, I felt a sweetness in my heart and couldn't help but pull her into my embrace. With such a wife, what more could a husband ask for? Witnessing this scene, Ryu completely broke down. She knelt on the ground for a long while, and finally limped away. Now the Wen family was controlled by the second branch, and Ryu had been completely abandoned by her father. Over these years, she had made a living through odd jobs, and hearing that Shanghai offered more opportunities, she wanted to try her luck there. She had finally found temporary work, only to ruin it with her own recklessness. Without any specialized skills, she simply couldn't establish herself in competitive Shanghai and could only continue drifting. To make quick money, she even went so far as to sell her eggs at a shady hospital, ultimately dying on the operating table due to infection. As for Zhou Liang, the last thing Ryu did before leaving Beijing was to hand him over to her former fairweather friends. Those wealthy young ladies were merciless and worked him to death. Of course, I knew nothing of these matters, nor did I have any interest in investigating them. At this moment, I was standing in a pure white church, with the pastor's solemn voice resonating throughout the estate. Do you both willingly agree to become husband and wife, whether in poverty or wealth, in sickness or in health, to forever love, respect, and protect each other, until the end of life? Holding flowers in my hands, I gazed at the woman who loved me and whom I loved, and sincerely asked, Nuanyuan, will you marry me? Balloons and white doves soared around us. Under the sunlight, Nuanyuan's eyes filled with tears as she fell into my embrace. I do, accompanied by enthusiastic applause and heartfelt blessings from